Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of these three guys right here. This is the NutSac Bags, Muy Grande, this is the Satchel 15, and the Satchel 13. One thing to note before we go any further, actually, is that these guys were provided to me by the manufacturer. NutSac sent these guys along. I've actually been a fan of their products for a while, and I've done some reviews of their stuff in the past, but they sent along, actually, the Satchel 15 is the new one. But anyways, nonetheless, they know my situation. I told them to talk about the good, the great, the bad, the ugly. It might be a gem, might be junk. They still sent it along. We have to assume these are the very best quality controlled bags they have ever sent along. And we also have to assume that I'm doing my best not to let that affect my review, but nonetheless, that's what we got going on here. Next thing, size comparison. Here they are, first off, against the Spyderco Delica. So you can see here, these are not small bags right here. This is the Muy Grande here. Here it is against the Satchel Pro, and here it is against the 11. Sorry, no, this is the Satchel 13. I'm really doing my best over here. And actually, something that'll make a little bit more sense, at least to those of you using Imperial units here, is we've got ourselves a ruler here. Well, a yardstick, I suppose. Nevertheless, these are not small bags, particularly, but they give you just sort of a good sense of what we got going on. So anyways, that is your size comparison. Next thing, you might be asking yourself, Nick, haven't you reviewed these before? I think I've seen this, yeah. They have done some renaming. The Muy Grande has remained the same. And in fact, I'm not going to focus as much on this particular bag during the course of this review. I'm going to focus on these two right here. This is the Satchel 15, which used to be called the Sac Daddy, which, you know, I'm okay with the rename. And then this is the Satchel 13, which used to be called the Satchel Pro. Wait, hold on. No, that was the Sac Daddy, which is now the 15. This used to be called the Satchel Pro, and they actually have an 11-inch version of it, which is a little bit smaller still, and that used to be called the Satchel, or just the Satchel, that is. So, effectively, this is a re-review of this guy right here, and a new review of this guy right here, although I'm going to go ahead and combine the whole line because, well, frankly, they're basically the same bag, just at different size scales. So anyways, let's go on ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this very interesting set of bags right here. So to start with, one thing that I actually like very much is this right here. So this is their logo, and by the way, I apologize, I have to shoot in like wide zoomed out mode because these are not small objects, and to be able to do things like that, so, you know, keep that in mind. Things are a little distorted over here at the edges there. My hands almost look big if I bring them out here. Anyways, one of the things I appreciate very much is that they have changed the logo around. It used to be the case that every logo said NutSac on the bottom of it, which, you know, look, I get it some level, but, and it's vaguely cute, but that's a joke that I'd like the ability to make or not. And so I appreciate very much that they offer you the choice now when you order to buy either with the branded logo with NutSac on the bottom or with just the nut, and then on the inside over here, someplace or another, I could have sworn it had a little label that attributed this to NutSac Bags, but nevertheless, they do have, nevertheless, that's a thing. I appreciate that they now give us the option to say NutSac or not on the outside of the bag. That's good. Next thing, this guy comes with a leather bottom. You can see right here that the bottom on both of these bags is a leather. And actually, that leather is a very helpful thing because not only does it keep the bottom of your bag from getting stained if you set this down on the ground or something like that, but it also increases durability over time, although it's worth noting, by the way, that there is a liner above that leather down there at the bottom. But nevertheless, having a leather bottom on a bag is very nice. Next thing, zippers on this guy are absolutely good to go. These are good zippers. In fact, they are YKK zippers, which is apparently a thing. But nevertheless, they are very, very nice zippers. They unzip and zip properly. See? Zippity zip zip. Beautiful thing. Next thing, this is using relatively thick canvas. This is a waxed canvas sort of an affair. And it's a very nice thickness on it. I'm a big fan of this, and frankly, it just feels very durable. I can scratch at this guy, no problem. And although you'll see little marks there, those marks go away pretty quickly with some time and wear. And so I appreciate that very much. Next thing, this is not just being held shut with with this little strap here. I mean, you can do that. And that gives you a fair amount of security, actually. You wouldn't think that this little button and tab thing would work as well as it does, but it kind of does. I'm a fan. So you got that, but you've also got a set of magnetic closures in here. You can see right here, there's a little circle. that is a magnetic attachment. And what that basically means is that you can just kind of, if you just, between meetings or something like that, you just flop this over the top. Even if it's not zipped, it's probably going to be staying in position. So that's kind of a nice thing. I appreciate that. Next thing, these guys all come with a strap. The strap on it is absolutely fine. It does not match the color of the bag, but in some cases, particularly on the Muy Grande and the Satchel 15, you get yourself a little shoulder pad here, which I appreciate. But nevertheless, strap is good. You've got lots of adjustability on both sides, so you can really tailor this to the exact position you want to carry it in, which is good, and it's a nice durable strap, and it is removable, which is very nice, because that means you can take off the strap, and then suddenly you have yourself a little briefcase, which could be a little bit more professional in some situations than a messenger bag. So I appreciate that the strap is removable. On so many of these kinds of things, they are not actually, and so that's a good thing. Next thing, you have a very nice selection of pockets. Although the Muy Grande actually has a couple of more, the pocket selection on these two is pretty much the same, just different in size. You've got these two internal pockets right here. Then you've got the zipper pocket in the back right here. Then on the front, one big pocket that is all the way there, and then on the back you have yourselves an open pocket that is very good for instance, just shoving a couple of papers into between meetings, something like that. That's a nice thing. You can also do things like, I will often put a dot pad or something, like a dot pad, meaning a thing to write on, Rhodia. Sorry, didn't mean to throw things. Like a Rhodia dot pad style thing. I'll often throw one of those in the back there. But nevertheless, you've got that little selection of pockets there. On the Muy Grande, actually, you upgrade a little bit in terms of your pocketation. Still same one in the back here. But you have, and I have a full review of this guy, but you got the one in the front. Then you've got three pockets here. You've got a pocket on the inside of the computer flap, and then you've got the computer pocket in the back here. So that is the main difference, actually, between the Muy Grande and this pair here. Size aside, you get some additional pocketation, which is good. Next thing, the size selection is actually very good. You have the Satchel 11, which works just for the iPad. This is a very small bag. I handled one that was, what was that called? The NutSac, I believe, which is around the same size. And you know what? It's very, very small. It works okay for an iPad. And by the way, I mean like a 13-inch. If you go to the bigger iPads, it becomes a thing. But then you get up to the Satchel 13, which is honestly about as small as I'd recommend. Unless you're really looking for a dedicated MERS, basically. This is about as small as you'd go, because this fits an iPad very, very well. At least your standard, iPad Pro, whatever, iPad Air. Fits nicely in the back here. Then you can actually get a 13-inch MacBook Pro in there, although you're probably going to need to put it into something, put it into like a separate case or something like that, and you're actually going to be pretty constrained. Like my MacBook Pro doesn't really fit all that well in this guy with a bigger case on there. So this is really, I think, the perfect size for an iPad. I would really recommend that if you are doing like a MacBook Pro or a larger computer, that you go into the 15 here. Because this is, and we'll talk a little bit more about size later on, but a 13-inch MacBook can fit very nicely in this zippered pocket here, leaving this part of it open for the rest of the stuff you might be carrying on a given basis. So that can be a nice thing. And then if you've got a bigger computer, then you can go all the way up to the Muy Grande, which I think really could handle any computer up to a pretty grande computer there, and it's got enough depth in this separate pocket here that you could probably throw a 17-incher from most companies up in there, and that's a beautiful thing. But I like very much the fact that they're giving us options across the size range, right? Because it seems like a very subtle distinction, but it really can be, I don't know, at least for me, I really prefer when my everyday carry bag is fitting exactly the kind of stuff I need. When there's not too much space, there's not too little, it just works very well. And so it turns out that for me, the Satchel 15 is the perfect size, and I like that I have the ability to find a good perfect size. Next thing, this guy is, it is unique among a lot of your laptop bags in that this guy has a rain flap over the top here, which means that even if you forget to, for instance, zip everything up and whatnot, you're going to have a measure of water resistance just by virtue of the water is going to bead off and go down into here. This is not necessarily something I would consider a waterproof bag. In fact, I would consider it definitely not waterproof. However, at the same time, that adds a little bit of something to it. And I appreciate very much, well, frankly, that. I think it's a really nice choice for there. It also makes for a very quick closure. Again, you just throw this over the top there. Oh, sorry, hit the armature. But you throw it over the top there, and that, you know, gives you a little bit of versatility. Next thing, this does have, all of them have a grab handle on the back here. This is a handy thing, not just because you can take off the strap and use it as a briefcase, but also just for like pulling it out of the back of a freaking cab or something like that. Having that grab handle is a lot better, and frankly, it's well positioned, such that you can hold this guy, even with this flap completely loose, you can lift this guy and it's not a problem. Whereas on some bags, if you try and lift the grab handle without the flap to secure it down, it's going to lift up the flap instead, and it's going to hang awkwardly, and it's going to empty everything out. So, you know, that's a nice thing. Then finally, this is a relatively hard bag to get into surreptitiously. If you kind of lock this guy down, so to speak, where you put the flap down, you zip everything up, then not only do they have to undo this flap and pull the tongue out, but they also have to overcome the magnets and then unzip the damn thing. That's going to give you a little bit more of a margin of error relative to a bag which is just open on the top, or certainly even where there's just a single zipper here. This is much harder to get into, you know, if it's, for instance, on your back as you're standing in line for the bus, than any other given bag. So, well, I'm sorry, not any other given bag. You got a freaking bank vault hanging off a strap, then you're doing okay. But still, that's the thing. So, to me, at least, all that's the good, is that it's hard to get into surreptitiously. It's got a very nice grab handle. It's got a rain flap for it. You have a very good selection of different sizes here, a nice selection of pockets. The strap on it is pretty great. I do like the magnetic closure here. It has relatively thick canvas, nice zippers, leather bottom, and a choice of logo, finally. On the great side, to me, is the build quality. I believe this about all of the NutSac products I've handled, but they just do good work, right? I mean, I have handled a bunch of these bags because it's something I've been looking at for a long time. And I've been impressed. I mean, the waxed canvas feels good. It feels durable. The leather feels good. It feels durable. In fact, it even feels like real leather, right? You get the pull-up kind of effect here on this, which, again, makes me think that this actually has seen a cow at some point in time, right? It's got nice thick strapping, good hardware, all of these kinds of things. I really genuinely feel like this is well made. This is a bag that I feel like will last a long time. And in fact, I moved from the black to the brown here, the Satchel 13, I believe. Still getting used to the number system here. But anyways, I moved to that, and my prior one had a bunch of freaking wear on it, and it still looked pretty damn good. And so I'm definitely a big fan of the build quality on this guy. There's no Velcro. There's no nothing to really go wrong. So I really suspect that this is a bag that you're going to buy and you can use for a long time. So to me, that's what's great, is the build quality here. On the bad side, to start with, one thing to note is that when you've got this guy zipped up, and especially if you've got it zipped up with this sheath kind of over, occasionally, this little bit here, the dangle, can get stuck underneath there and make it a little bit harder to get into the zipper. This is a complete nitpick, but it's definitely one disadvantage to having that zipper sheath. It makes it a lot more, well, flap, I guess. It makes it a little bit more waterproof, which is nice, but keep that in mind. It's not the fastest access bag ever. If you compare that to, for instance, let's see here. This is a bag from Banquest, which I also have on the table to review, where the zipper is just out in the middle of freaking nowhere, so you can just grab it. Anyways, there you go. Next thing, these are not inexpensive bags. They are pricey, in fact. The 11-inch, or the 11, that is looking at $139. The 13, which is this guy, is $169. This is U.S. freaking dollars here. The 15 is $229. The Muy Grande is $289. I mean, that's up there. I think it's in the same price range as a lot of your other higher-end laptop bags. Not the end of any particular worlds, but it is definitely a little bit up there. It is clear, as I said in my first review, that they truly believe the NutSac is a family jewel, and they do charge accordingly. Next thing, I like the brown color. I really do. I mean, Indiana Jones is my style icon, so to speak. Fashion blogger. But unfortunately, the straps that they ship with it do not match. They do not have brown straps to go with the brown bags. It's always the black. It helps that they give you on some of them this kind of a leather sheath, or on the Muy Grande, that is, you get this kind of a thing where it's a little bit of a cloth padding. But nevertheless, I really do appreciate. I would appreciate if they had matching straps for this, because it's a little weird otherwise. Next thing, one of the downsides with the 11 is if you pick this guy up by these straps, especially if you've got it loaded with anything top-heavy, it can occasionally be a little tippy. It can occasionally, I've noticed if I pick it up by the strap, it has about a halfway chance of going this way and this way, especially if these guys are held down. That's not as big of an issue as you go into the 15 or the Muy Grande, but it is something to keep in mind. Next thing, no pen slot. That's kind of a weird thing, honestly. One thing that pretty much everyone's going to carry is a pen. Usually what I end up doing is taking a pen, this pen right here, and just kind of putting it in the center of this kind of thing, right? And I'll often have a flashlight right over here, like a pen-style flashlight over here. I mean, you can fill it up okay, and it's okay, but I kind of would like to see just a dedicated pen slot some damn place in this bag, because I think that would be a nice idea, and it's something that pretty much everyone's going to carry at least one of. Next thing, there is no padding or internal division on these particular ones. You get an internal divider on the Grande here, but the thing is, anything that you're putting in this central package here will be clanging against anything else. Unless you're able to get it into this area in the back here, this is just sort of one thing. And so as a result, if you're just throwing your laptop in there, and especially that's an issue on this smaller one here, or it's an issue on the bigger one if you got a bigger laptop, anything you throw in there is just going to be up against your laptop there. And similarly, like if you've got a bunch of pens here, they're going to be right up against the screen of your iPad or something like that. And so it's really worth considering. You know, one of the things I like very much about the 15 is that I can get my MacBook Pro in here, 13-inch, and put it in the back part here, so that way pens aren't scratching up against it, but that is something to consider. You'll want to probably either keep your laptop in a case within a case sort of an affair, something like this, where it's, going to be kept safe, or the other option would be to go up to the Muy Grande, which has this whole affair here to keep your laptop separated from the rest of the affair. But still, that is something you want to keep in mind. And then finally, one thing to note, and this is sort of an amorphous thing, there is somewhat of a stigma in the Western world, at least, against a man purse. The Merces are not widely accepted, and the 11 here, certainly the 11, but even the 13 is borderline in Merce territory. If you got a computer in there, it looks, but this is getting to be a little bit small. And frankly, I would argue that the 13, although I love it and I used it very successfully, there were definitely days where I needed to move into another bag because this wasn't quite big enough. And so I think that both in the Merce factor as well as in the size factor, moving up to the 15 probably isn't a bad idea for most people. So do keep in mind that especially in the 11, but certainly in the 13 as well, that you're going to be in that sort of territory where it's more of a messenger bag or a purse kind of thing, more than it is a briefcase or something like that. So, at least to me, that's the bad, is that it's a little mercy. There is no padding or internal division. There's no pen slot here. The 11-inch one here is a little easy to pick up and accidentally flip. The straps don't match. It's a little pricey. And getting at the zipper is a little trickier because of the zipper sheath. On the ugly front, there's nothing really ugly. Now that they've addressed the logo issue, they're honestly just great. And honestly, they are just great. I mean, it's a great bag for a small laptop. It's a great bag for a lightweight everyday carry. And frankly, when you move up to this guy here, which is going to be my recommendation of the three, you get something that is a very good everyday bag. I could live in this bag for the rest of my life, I suspect, unless I start carrying a 17-inch workstation laptop or something like that. This will do the trick. It is very nice. It's very durable. It's well built, well sized, and pretty attractive, honestly. It's a little pricey, with relatively little inner division, and you are carrying a very small briefcase in some cases. But you know what? For me, I love it. It's absolutely great. There's kind of a Goldilocks thing going on here, though, because the Muy Grande here is, it's a little too big. You've got the 11-inch one, or the 11 here, which is just borderline a little bit too small. And then you've got the one in the middle here. You got the 15, which for me at least is just freaking right. This, to me, it's funny. I've been loving the Muy Grande here. But I said to them, they reached out and said, "Hey, Nick, you interested in checking out?" I said, I'd kind of like to see that middle one there and see if there's anything. And I didn't think it was going to make a huge difference. Going from something that's a little bit bigger. I'd been on both sides. Turns out that this is just freaking right. And the reason for that is that, the small one is a little small for anything but just like carrying an iPad. The big one really feels like it wants a much bigger computer, so everything's kind of rattling around in there. This is perfect. Like I said, the MacBook Pro 13 fits right in here. And again, your hardware may vary, but I think a lot of computers would fit nicely in this little pouch here, especially in the compact basis. And honestly, it's got everything I need and nothing I really don't. And that leaves me this whole area here to carry books, to carry all the other kinds of stuff I've got. So I like that very much. If you need more pockets and divisions, go to the Muy Grande. If you want something, if you're only using a small iPad or a micro laptop sort of thing, by all means, the 11's probably going to be fine. It's certainly going to be a little light, the 11 or the 13 for that matter. But honestly, I think for most people, the 15's going to be a sweet spot here. Because there's enough room in the pocket, but there's plenty of space left over. But honestly, whichever of these you choose, it's a great bag. I am a big fan of these bags generally. I think, like I said, the big question here is just going to be size. Do you want to get one of these? Probably. I think that for most people who are interested in a messenger-style bag, and especially one that's not as heavy as some of your leather briefcases, I did some time. I spent some time with a saddleback leather, with actually a couple of saddleback leather bags, with a Frank Clegg, and honestly, they're wonderful, they're beautiful, but they're freaking heavy. And this is a very nice step-down sort of thing. It's a good mix of minimalist and capacious and durable. It's pretty attractive, and it's still a little bit, well, frankly, lighter than the full leather approach. So I love these bags just a lot. They are great, and each one of them I would call a gem. The 11 is a little too small, I think. I would probably exclude that. But the 13, the 15, and the Muy Grande are all really great bags, and they're all bags I would have no trouble recommending. So the big question is, which one of these is most interesting to you? And that's going to depend entirely on what what all you have, and what all you're interested in. So there you go. I really, really like this bag, and chances are next time you see me on the bus, I'm going to have this little nutsack between my legs. But nevertheless, it's a very, very nice piece, and I've been very impressed with it. But either way, whatever size you go with, you're going to have a good time. So there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.